Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Detroit Lions. What a game yesterday. It was very shocking to see the Detroit Lions play like that, and to be honest with you, it's how I feel every single time for the last 2 years when my Packers have played you guys. And I don't think it's time to overreact. I see your new offensive coordinator getting a lot of flack on social media. I think the real catalyst to that game was, first off, the Packers defense. It's solid. All right, it's a good defense, and they have a really good linebacker room now, really good defensive line with Micah Parsons, and Detroit was just not doing the little stuff to the degree that we've seen in recent seasons. And like I said, I don't really think this is an issue by any means, and I kind of want to just go through some random clips here, because as you guys can see, at the start of this, they jerk off audibles here and get some guys, Jahmyr Gibbs in motion, and I found this statistic really interesting. Jahmyr Gibbs had 10 catches for 31 yards. In NFL history, and sorry to rag on it, I'm not trying to. In NFL history with players who have double-digit receptions, Jahmyr Gibbs was the lowest ever. And I thought that was insane. And I want to give you just kind of, hold on. I want to give you one quick thing about this because, I'm usually positive. But this is our Detroit Lions channel. I want to keep it a buck with you guys. So, Jared Goff audibles here. Now, you're going to see Carrington Valentine right here, defensive back for the Green Bay Packers. He's blitzing. All right. Now, I'll just let you actually watch this because I've been yapping far too long now. And they throw it to Jahmyr Gibbs, and it just gets, there's like 8 Packers right there. Now, I don't think Jared Goff played that good of a game, and I get it. The offensive line was really struggling, and absolutely nothing was working in the run game. Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 carries for 19 yards. David Montgomery, 11 carries for 25 yards. As a whole, on 22 carries, the Detroit Lions averaged 2.1 yards. Now, I want to say actually as well, first off, you can see Jared Goff, his eyes, or we can kind of barely see, his eyes are looking left. Now, this is Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he is wide open on this football play. So since Carrington Valentine is blitzing, Amon's wide open. The guy who's covering it is our safety, and he's got to run all the way down here. So I see a lot of flack to just, whether you're blaming the run game, the offensive coordinator, Dan Campbell, your offensive line coach, whatever it is. I'm looking at Jared Goff right now. He sees Valentine blitzing. And this is Amon-Ra St. Brown with all of this open air. All of this open space. And it's just, he only had 4 catches for 41 yards. It was really surprising to me. He quickly diverts it to Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, I'm not sure. Maybe the offensive line, he calls an audible, a new protection, and these guys are supposed to drift to the right. Maybe Laporta runs... he didn't get the memo here. Maybe they needed to wait a little bit longer because I'll pause it. He's got Quay Walker on him. So maybe he's hoping, Laporta drags Quay Walker all the way here, and then number 85, it's a little bit zoomed out. Who's 85? Brock Wright. He blocks him, and they're able to just get on the outside here. But it's just a little check down to Jahmyr Gibbs, and I was really baffled by how Jared Goff played in yesterday's football game. So let's take a look at some more clips here. All right, guys, I'm about to break it all down here after this clip. Sorry, I just yapped for 4 straight minutes. This is the end of the game. It's 4th and 3, and this was the craziest touchdown catch maybe ever, to just be honest with you. This is 4th and 3. There's 1 minute left. It's 27-6 Green Bay's way. Pretty much just trying to go down the field and put up some points and try and get something going offensively. To be honest with you, it kind of reminded me of you guys playing the Baltimore Ravens, I want to say 2 seasons ago when you won your first NFC North title in the last 2 years. And this is truly spectacular, and Goff puts a good ball on here where only his wide receiver can catch it, and it's crazy. He gets 1 foot, he secures it with his hands, and then just at the last second gets that left heel in. I was really surprised that Isaac TeSlaa, he played 3 snaps. maybe it was 4. He played literally 3 or 4 snaps, and that was kind of the concern I had a little bit as we got farther into preseason is how much is he going to play in week 1 specifically, because every preseason game we saw him, he was running with the second team. So they already made it a point. I think it was Dan Campbell who went out there today on the presser and said, we're going to get Isaac TeSlaa the ball more. He's going to be playing more. Expect to see him more week 2 against the Chicago Bears. And I just thought this was, a really positive sign. But let me break all this stuff down to you in this next clip. All right, guys, we're getting to this. The film, it got kind of depressing. And, if you want anything specific on this Lions channel as the week progresses, let me know down below. We can look at the offensive line. We can look at the defense a little bit more, Jared Goff or what have you. I do want to say this, and I don't think I talked about it in that 4-minute yap at the beginning of this video. Every team that wins a Super Bowl usually gets walloped in at least one game that season. And I kind of said this game felt like the Baltimore Ravens game from a few seasons ago, where it was a little early on in the season, but Detroit was picking up their stride and they were starting the season good. And it was one of those where it's like, what the heck? What did I just watch? That wasn't the Detroit Lions I know. That's not the Lions that we saw in the first couple of weeks. Philadelphia, last year Super Bowl champions, they lost to the Atlanta Falcons in the second game of the regular season. I think it was week 4. They got walloped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was like the final score wasn't too evident of it. It was like 32-16, something like that. But Philly looked horrible in that game. And I don't remember if you remember 1 year ago, like the first month in the season, Philadelphia, that went on a crazy run at the end of the season and was by far the best team in the National Football League when they won the Super Bowl. They had the best defense. Offense was clicking. The whole convo after the first month was like, did Philly regress? Are the Philadelphia Eagles done? And you've got all these talking heads on TV saying, yep, the Philadelphia Eagles are done. They lost to the Falcons. They got walloped by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you even go back to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2023, they also got walloped on the road to Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. They lost, I have it right here, 24-9 on the road. But it did not feel like that. It was Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. And I've watched, we've been covering the NFL on Will Upton for, I think this is our 3.5. This is technically like my 4th season doing it. I watched a lot of week 1 football. I watch, even college football as well. Offense is always underwhelming. And I know it's no excuse, but to be honest with you, it was just a bad team loss. And to also just be honest with you, I know it's not what you guys want to hear on this Lions channel, but Green Bay looked, like a Super Bowl team. And, our defense they're the real deal. And I know they got Micah now, and it just is a really, really good defense. And they said, I think it was Morton who said after the game, we want to get the bread and butter down before we start getting tricky with it. Or he didn't say that quote, but he said something like that. Before we get into some fun stuff and all that, we just want to narrow in the bread and butter. And I fully anticipate the Detroit Lions to be completely fine. Brian Branch played really well. Aiden Hutchinson's first game back in a very long time. It just, on the road is a huge disadvantage in general in week 1 of the NFL season. Like a huge disadvantage. And it usually, because of preseason, do we even see Jared Goff and the Lions play in the preseason? I don't believe we did. It's just sometimes the way she goes. And you're going to hear a lot. It's Monday. I already saw a lot about the Detroit Lions out here. I think most of it's been the Packers just looked good. No matter who they played, the Packers just looked good. They had a good defensive game plan. They were keeping everything in front of them against the Lions. I saw a lot of play action watching some of this Lions film, and it was you average 2.1 yards per carry. The play action's not going to be as good if you're averaging 2.1 yards per carry. And that's really it. That's really it for this video. I came away with that game, and like I said, it's how I've felt as a Packers fan playing the Detroit Lions the last 2 years. I mean, really the last 3 years, but more so the last 2 years, where it's just oh God, We're just getting our teeth kicked in front of us right now. And this is a resilient team. Dan Campbell's a resilient coach, and I fully anticipate the Detroit Lions to completely bounce back starting week 2. I believe you take on the Chicago Bears. We'll see how they play the Minnesota Vikings tonight, but I really don't think it's any cause for concern. I get it. Some people are going at Kelvin Shepard, the defensive coordinator, and John Morton, the offensive coordinator, but at the end of the day, it's just a bad loss. And yeah, that's it. If you guys want anything specific, please let me know down below in the comments section, because I'm trying to do, kind of like daily Lions videos on this channel, but I hate negative videos. I hate talking ill will. And if you guys want some film studies, let me know down below. And yeah, I think it's gonna be fine. Let me know what you think down below, and we'll see you soon. Peace.